Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Brian's Horror Corner, and welcome to this Masters of Horror Season 1 episode ranking and wrap up video for my current February 2024 series. So, we have reached the end of this series as we've reached the end of February. And in this series, I took a look and reviewed all 13 episodes. Those reviews are up on my channel if you guys want to check them out, all from this DVD collection here. But yeah, in this video, we're going to go ahead and rank them from 13 to 1. My least favorite to my favorite of Season 1. Just Season 1. I haven't seen Season 2. It doesn't look like it's easy to get Season 2 on physical media. Now, if there's a streaming service out there that has Season 2 of Masters of Horror, please comment down below, because I would be interested at some point of checking it out. I do know for most people I've talked to that Season 2 kind of dips in quality from Season 1, but like I said, this series is all about Season 1. So, I'm also going to give my overall thoughts of the series for at least the first season. But first, I'm going to go ahead and rate these first thing from 13 to 1. So, let me get my notes here. So, Masters of Horror, Season 1 ranking, 2005-2006. Again, I have to preference this because people get all butthurt sometimes online, but this is just my opinion of how I would rank these 13 episodes. If you love my 13th ranked episode, or if you hate my first ranked episode, that's totally fine. These are just my opinions. They're just kind of, and these are all based on a one-time watch as well. So, of course, this list could change upon future watches, but I just want to throw that out there before I get started. So, coming in at number 13, my least favorite episode, and again, I should point out, I don't hate any of these episodes. None of them are unwatchable or horrible or anything like that. I actually like all 13 episodes for what they are, obviously to varying degrees, but I have to have my list go some way. So, coming at number 13 is going to be episode 5, Chocolat, or Chocolate. Yeah, this is an episode I wasn't crazy about. It was directed by Mick Garris, which right away is as a strike against it, because I'm not a big fan of Mick Garris as a director. Not to say he doesn't know what he's doing, but I just don't like his style of directing, and that's present here. But the biggest thing about this episode is it's not horror. I mean, that's all the other episodes have some variants of horror to them, but this one really doesn't. And so that's why I have it as my number 13 more than anything. So yeah, Chocolate, number 13. Number 12 is going to be one of the end of the season episodes that a lot of people I know like this episode. It just didn't work for me, and that's episode 11, Pick Me Up. That was directed by Larry Cohen. As I said in my individual review, I thought the pacing was really off in this episode. I thought there were a lot of wasted characters, namely Fairuza Balk. They really wasted her and her character, and I just couldn't get behind any of these characters. I don't know what it was. I just wasn't feeling this episode, so that's why Pick Me Up is number 12. Number 11 is going to go back to the beginning of the season, episode 3, Dance of the Dead. This was with Robert Englund. Just the visual style and the shaky cam of this episode kind of turned me off on it, frankly. It was really hard to stay focused on this episode and kind of what was going on. So, yeah, I just didn't really care for the style of this one. Then we get into our top 10. My number 10 episode is going to be, I didn't even realize I did this, but it's episode 10, 10 and 10. Episode 10, Sick Girl. I thought this episode was okay. It had, excuse me, it had decent body horror, good performances by Angela Bettis as well as the other gal, main character, but I didn't find this episode particularly scary, and there were a lot of gaps in logic, different logic gaps throughout the episode. I suppose if you're somebody that has a fear of bugs, this episode will get to you a lot more, but I'm not really somebody like that, so yeah, this episode was just kind of meh to me. Number 9, we have episode 7, Dear Woman. This one I thought had good characters. I liked the character development in this one. There was some humor involved. It's an interesting story overall, kind of one of those legendary stories that are told on, an old folk tale kind of thing that comes to fruition. I did feel like, obviously this is more of a horror comedy directed by John Landis, and I did feel like some of the comedy was a little forced. Again, that's probably more me, just because I'm not the biggest horror comedy fan in the world. But this episode was fine. Coming in at number 8 is episode 2 from the season, H.P. Lovecraft's Dream in the Witch House. I really thought this had a good setting and a good atmosphere, but there is some bad CGI as well, and the ridiculous rat face I just can't get over. This human face on a rat that just looks so cheesy and so bad. That really took me out of it in terms of any build up towards the ending. But it's a fine episode. Number 7 is going to be episode 9, Fair Haired Child. I really like the look of the fair haired child in this episode. It has a great twist, in my opinion, that had a really satisfying ending as a result. I do think the pacing's kind of off in this episode, and as a result, we're not really all that connected with any of the characters here, because this is probably one of those episodes that would have been better to be a full length feature, have a longer runtime. So, but I liked Fair Haired Child. Number 6 is going to be Hakel's Tale, episode 12. I like the fact that this is a period gothic kind of setting, kind of a gothic piece. I really like the makeup and gore effects in this episode. The only problem with it was, for the most part, is the ending got really cheesy and it really didn't fit the rest of the tone of this episode. It was kind of like just a really over the top cheesy ending. So that's Hakel's Tale, number 6. Now we get into my top 5, the creme de la creme of season 1 of this series. And number 5 is probably going to be a little controversial, because I know this is one of the more disliked episodes from season 1, at least that I saw and heard about, and that is episode 6, Homecoming. This does have some political, I don't know if you want to say controversy, but commentary, I guess, is a better way to say it. But I think it has a great blend of political, not so much political, but like social commentary as well as horror. I thought they did a really good job combining the zombies, which are basically service members, dead service members fighting in wars that come back to have their voices heard after the fact for voting. And I thought the zombies looked great. I really loved that concept. I thought it was executed well. This episode does have weak side characters. That's the one big knock that I have on it. But otherwise, I really enjoy Homecoming, my 5th favorite episode of the first season. My 4th favorite episode is going to be the very last episode of the season, the one that probably stands out above all others in this season, in this series so far, and that is episode 13, Imprint. This episode is very impactful. It has a lot of technical greatness, from the directing to the acting. Well, not so much the acting, but like the cinematography, the visuals, the directing. Great storytelling. I love the way that the story is told, getting darker and darker as it goes on, and building up the horror and the tension. There is some hammy acting, especially by the main character of Christopher, that I didn't care for, and I don't think really worked all that well. And then the ending is kind of confusing as well in this episode. Not really being sure, having it explained exactly about the character of Komomo. So, but yeah, Imprint, you can't ignore it. It might not be a highly rewatchable episode, because it's got a lot of on-screen violence and very tough to watch, but it's very well done and it definitely stands out. So that's number 4, and then we get into my top 3. My 3rd favorite episode is going to be the first episode of the series, Incident on and Off a Mountain Road. Other than the ending, I really liked just about everything about this episode. I liked the setting, I thought, was one of my favorites. The atmosphere was great. The look of the Moonface Killer I really liked and enjoyed. And I really liked the opening and closing shot of this episode. Very well directed episode with great cinematography, great setting, great atmosphere. Again, just the ending got a little wonky for me. Not quite sure what the main character's intentions were, where she basically either becomes the Moonface Killer or copies the Moonface Killer for some reason. I'm not really sure what happened there, but overall it's a very good episode. Number 2, this was tough between 1 and 2, but at the end of the day it really wasn't. My 2nd favorite episode is going to be Jennifer, episode 4 of the season. This is a very memorable horror episode. My favorite part of this episode is the character of Jennifer herself, in terms of her sounds, her everything she does, her reactions, the look of her, it's all just great, very scary and creepy. This is a very well-paced episode, maybe the best well-paced episode, well, other than number 1 of the whole season. Um yeah, everything's just great about this episode. My only one complaint is they don't really explain much about the cut that Frank gets early in the picture, although I think we know what that means. My interpretation is that cut is what attracts him to Jennifer and why he ends up going on this journey where he basically has to try to get rid of her in any way that he can at the end. But love Jennifer. Great horror episode. But number 1, I kind of knew this from the first. It was the first episode I reviewed, and I knew it was going to be tough to beat. And that is episode 8, Cigarette Burns. This was directed by John Carpenter, and it was directed wonderfully. Just love everything about this episode. The premise and the idea, the directing, the acting. Udo Kier, what can you say? The gore is very good. It has a lot of creepy imagery as it relates to the cigarette burns on screen. The way that all the characters that are connected to this film that they're trying to track down, how they're introduced and their involvement and where they are now, just that sort of character arc and development. I love everything about this episode to the point where I really didn't have any cons. The only con I could come up with was questioning whether the ending could have been better, but I don't know that it could have been. I think this is damn near a perfect episode or short movie, whatever you want to call it. So, yeah, my favorite episode from season 1 of Masters of Horror is Cigarette Burns, episode 8, directed by John Carpenter. As I said, my overall thoughts on this series, I really enjoyed checking it out. I thought it was really interesting and cool to bring all these well-known directors back, and I thought most of them did a pretty good job. As I said, none of these 13 episodes are bad. We all have different tastes, and this is just the order of ranking for my taste and how they were presented to me. It'll be interesting over time to see if how much it changes as I watch upon rewatching these episodes. But I think Imprint and Jennifer are the two that definitely stand out the most. I think Cigarette Burns is just the best overall, all around episode. But they're all pretty good for what they are. So I will be interested in checking out season 2 at some point when I can find it or get my hands on it. Like I said, you can comment down below if there's a place I can watch it from a streaming standpoint. I've looked a few times on eBay and Amazon to try to find it, and it's either, if it exists, it's extremely expensive that I'm not going to pay, or I can't find it at all. So I don't know if it must be out of print, I'm guessing. But I really enjoyed this series. I really enjoyed taking a look at Masters of Horror the first season. I hope you guys did too. As I said, 14 videos, 13 individual review episodes, and then this wrap up and ranking of all 13 episodes. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say. I don't think so. I think this has been a great series, a great TV horror anthology series. I wouldn't put it up there with the likes of The Twilight Zone or Tales from the Crypt or even Tales from the Dark Side for that matter. I think I enjoy those 3 more. Of course, there's a lot more seasons that I reviewed too, so I haven't seen all the episodes of this, but I think it's safe to say that this is probably going to be on a second tier ranking in terms of horror anthology TV series. Nothing's ever going to top the original Twilight Zone for me, but and I also really like the Tales from the Dark Side and the Crypt, and even Night Gallery too. I'd probably put this with Night Gallery on the second tier, I would say, in that regard. But with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this entire series. Please like this video, hit the little notification bell down below, comment down below any thoughts you have about like I said, season 2 and about the overall season 1 review and ranking that I did here. Your favorite episodes, your least favorites. Give me a ranking that you have, or just give me your top 3 episodes if you don't want to go that far down in the comments. Please subscribe to my channel as well so you don't miss any of my great horror content. Not only this series is done, but I have so many more great series coming up related to my horror collection the rest of the year, basically. So with that being said, I hope everybody's doing well as we have gone through 2 months of 2024. But as always, stay scared. Bye.